welcome back to Higher Self Wellness with Alec Hurley. What's going on? All right, today on the podcast, I'm talking to a good friend of mine, Nicholas Crouch, and I don't know why I said Nicholas. I've known him for a really long time. His name's Nico. Anyways, awesome guy, and you get to listen today to Nick and I talk about his newly released book, 2.5 Cents, Worth a Million. And so him and I, we've done a lot of traveling together. We have been surf travel buddies for many years, although we haven't been on a trip in many years. But through early adulthood, through high school, I met Nick actually when I was late middle school, just about to go into high school. Nick and I met, and since then, we've been really good friends. We've done a lot of traveling. We've gone on long surf trips, short surf trips. I don't know how many countries we've been to together, but we spent many months together traveling, surfing, getting uncomfortable, having a good time, and ultimately just breaking our comfort zone and breaking the patterns of the mundane. Awesome guy. He's done a lot of traveling over the past few years. I've seen him once in person over the past, I think, 7 years. So he's definitely been living the nomadic, the modern gypsy lifestyle of traveling the world, writing about his experiences, and ultimately sharing his message, which he has put now into a book. So in this conversation, we talk a lot about, just what he's been up to, what his writings are about, his gifts of storytelling, and how it's more than just a story, but it's a calling from within, and it's connected to a message that ultimately serves the greater good of humanity. And think travel, think breaking the patterns, think expanding your comfort zones, and making great friends along the way. Ultimately, that's what's coming through, and he knows that to do that, he has to get out of his own way. He has to let go and just write, get it out there. What I find cool is that this conversation is in parallel to the workshop that I led this week for the yoga teacher trainees over here at Trilogy Sanctuary in La Jolla, California. And this is where I highlighted the importance of really expressing your unique gifts and noticing when the erroneous beliefs are present, preventing us from living our truth. You know, it's really easy to get into the comparison mindset and to see others as doing better, and to become very judgmental about ourselves, and then to ultimately not let our unique message come through in the way that it is meant to. And I really feel like Nick is embodying this, especially by putting together all of these stories and unique experiences into a book and then sharing that with other people. So what Nick has also created is the Omni Flag, which is inspired from his travels, and we talk about this. And basically, it's an Earth flag on a mission for sustainability, global equality, and peace. And it's traveling around the world. You can follow that on Instagram. I highly recommend it. You're going to see this flag. It's gone all over the place already. It started in Hawaii, then it went over to the East Coast of the U.S., up into Canada. It's working its way back down the West Coast, and then it's just going to continue on. So the Omni Flag, it's got a cool message. You're going to hear us talk about that and his drive for wanting to put that together and his inspiration for doing that. And yeah, you can find out more about Nick over on his Instagram page, the Omni Flag. Also, Modern Gypsy is his other, and he is just modern_gypsy_. I'm going to have all these links here in the notes, and you'll be able to catch up with Nick, see his life on the sailboat, and hopefully be inspired to break your own comfort zone and really get out of the way and get out there and explore this tiny little planet that we're living on here in the vast cosmos. So without further ado, here is a conversation I have with Nicholas Crouch, aka Modern Gypsy, aka the Omni Flag, aka Nico. All right.
We're doing it. But yeah, man, the Mohawk, it's been a fun ride of testing the waters, trying something new, and I'm enjoying it. Feels good, feels right. I'm gonna keep rolling with it.
Looks right, looks cool. Keep it up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I support it.
I love it. Thanks, dude. Well,
Yeah, you got to do like some like profile pictures with that thing. Get the whole element. Yeah, that's you got to throw in some photos with that.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't thought of that yet. I never even really get to see the back.
I thought it was just like military status up top. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's unique. And then you spawn and it's, you got to show the whole bit, man. That thing needs to be seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sent a picture to my dad, and my dad was like, "Would you join the Marines?" And I'm like, "No, you didn't see the back."
Yes, sir. Rebel with a cause. Nice.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Social rebel. Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, you said no waves right now, and just cruising through the weekend.
Yeah, it's we've been kind of scoring lately, so it seems like for the past 3 to 4 weekends in a row, there's been like at least solid 5 foot surf at decent interval in the upper teens. Every single weekend it's been clean and no winds, and so this week I scoped the whole island, and we're down to like 2 foot at Blah. So I got to kick back and take care of some other stuff instead, knock out the old punch list. So
Yeah,
it's been good.
priorities.
Yeah, got to get them.
When the waves are there and it's the weekend, you're on it, and if not, get the other things done.
Right. Yeah, you do all your procrastinated items, so they find their space too.
For sure. I like to do that around here too. It's like if the waves are just mediocre, I'm like, I'll just get some other stuff done. I'll get ahead of the game. Because when it gets good, I'm like, I'm gonna be there. I'll do everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Daybreak, both sides, till the wind holds out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey man, props on this.
Wow. Yeah. Nice one. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, props on this. Props on getting it done and putting it out there. Because this is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Just like the whole thing behind it. Because I know we were talking a little bit before you'd release the book, and kind of when you were going through that whole process of refining it and like finishing it up and going back down to Mexico to do that.
Right.
And I thought it was really cool because you were talking about how essentially you're getting out of your own way to like really get the message out there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have picked up on is that the message, it's almost using you as a vessel, you as that portal to like get out there and get to the masses. And what's cool to me is I think that there's always these messages out there, but are we willing to really let go of ourselves and step out of the way and just let it flow through us and get the work done that it takes, that's necessary to get it out there. So yeah, man, props for doing that.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it. And that's exactly what it was, is it took personal sacrifices on my behalf to take that next step to actually initiate or put it into full motion, without, I guess, taking little, micro gambles, or without me having cut into my own personal life. I don't think I would have been able to complete it in the timely fashion that I was hoping for. So it was basically, go all in for a bit and let the reward pay off later. Yeah.
That's cool. And so we're talking today about Nick's new book, 2.5 Cents Worth a Million. And so like, talk to me about what is the message that you're trying to get out there through these writings and through these expressions?
The base premise of it all really has to do with, I don't want to say just traveling, but it's more or less seeing the big picture. So the title kind of ties in with that, the worth a million bit, having to do with the bounty that can be gained from stepping out of your comfort zone and into foreign territory, whether it's the first time or the 10th time or the 100th time. It's rewarding each time you go. So for me, it's an inspiration piece, and I sort of used my own experiences to kind of create a stage for that. So there's some fun stories that are involved throughout the book, and you know, obviously strung in some comedy and some wild and interesting things to try and, you know, keep the reader excited. And then at the same time, that this very book that you're holding actually is the buildup of figuring all that out. So that one right there that's my journey that I went and did blind, trying to figure out how I was going to do what I ended up doing in 2015 or 2012, coming home 2015, and it's all contained within.
Cool, man. So essentially, it's embracing the discomforts, and we can do that through a bunch of different ways, right? Like,
yeah,
you and I, we've been doing that not only just through traveling, but I feel like surfing is one of those places where it's a demand, right? If we're going to put ourselves in the elements, we have to be able to embrace those uncomfortable situations. And so that's a really cool perspective as well, and something that not a lot of people get, right? Even if we try surfing a little bit here or there, and I'm not saying surfing's for everybody, it's definitely not. Like, either is tennis, right? But surfing can be a very demanding place where we need to embrace the discomforts, and we need to get out of our own way and really learn how to settle into getting thrashed around or getting tumbled around and being underwater a little longer than what's comfortable.
Exactly. You have to more or less submit to your situation. You know, like you really can't fight the ocean. If you do, you're just going to wear yourself out, and eventually she's going to pin you. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say as is the same with traveling, you know, or even just being new in a town. You know, I don't think you really want to show up and start with a puffed up chest and demand the world of yourself. You know, you got to kind of become a part of the culture and embrace that and see what they're up to, and, you know, what they consider fun or enriching or enlivening, or, you know, that whole scene. So yeah, I think it parallels in surfing the same as it does in traveling or within your own hometowns or a new setting.
Mm-hmm. 2.5 cents worth $1 million. I love it because for me, it also comes back to the simplicity of just being alive and interacting with people, and how enriching that can be for us. So it could be just a very, you know, quote unquote mundane experience, and we can gain a sense of clarity around like who we really are in relationship to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
entirely. And, you know, you can you learn from each other, you grow from each other, you gain clarity, like you said, from another. It's it's a big thing. I think once you begin to open your mind, you kind of crack that eggshell, and there's this sort of massive sense of understanding, or an equilibrium that can take place, kind of a finding of oneself. You could call the book sort of a coming of age thing, but I'd say that it's more or less a coming into the world thing. Like, I wanted to see it all. My hometown was too tiny for me, and I needed to know where all that stuff was that I was missing out on. So, yeah, I think it's a great lesson in life to go ahead and to try and get out of your comfort zone. You know, you can do it in baby steps, or you can, you know, leap off to the other end of the world the way I did. But it's all personal preference, really, and how far you want to take yourself, how far the boundaries that you wish to push, hopefully in a positive way, you know. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've been traveling. I mean, geez, we've been on many trips together, but you've just, for the past, what would you say, like 7 years, we haven't been on a trip together, and you've just continued on moving,
Right.
moving from here to there, which is cool.
being just a full on gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, mine didn't stop. I think the times when we traveled together and we got around was more or less like the seeds that were planted for what I knew was yet to come. And so I had to get out there and find it. And once I did, it was like I was getting back into where I'd always wanted to be. Which is just being at nature's doorstep all the time. Whether you're out in the mountains or you're in the ocean or you're off in some ancient cities and cultures, it's just always just finding all the beauty that you overlook in life. And I think that becomes easier to compile when everything is fresh. We can become pretty complacent in life, so that kind of puts you in that present moment that's tough to maintain. And so back when we did it, when we were in our teens and 20s, for me, I saw the future and I knew that it wasn't going to end. I knew it was just the beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And sometimes it takes that breaking up of our routine, so we kind of get like a little shock to the system, to where we can come back to sense the beauty that's around us. And I really like how you said that, of like, it's always there, but it's just coming back to resensitizing ourselves to become aware of it.
Yeah. To bring in that emotion or that mental presence, that acuity, to understanding that really beauty is all around you. It's just a matter of, are you there to receive it? Can you be receptive to it? And sometimes it can be, I find it quite difficult. And I catch myself having to kind of backpedal or just pump the brakes, go to molasses pace and kind of take it all in for a moment before continuing on. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, so you're in Hawaii now, and I mean, definitely the vibe there and the lifestyle there is a lot more relaxed than other places. Have you found it easier to, even while still working and whatnot and providing for yourself, have you found it easier to sense the beauty more so where you are now?
Yeah, I have. And I think one of the big reasons I'm kind of cheating per se in maintaining that. And I think you know the answer to how I do that. And it's kind of um, noticeable if you can figure out the setting of where this is. But by living on my sailboat, I'm able to kind of maintain that 1 foot in, 1 foot out the door of being locked into American society. And then the other foot's already ready to pull the lines and go sail. So yeah, Hawaii has its own tempo. You kind of have to embrace that. And each island has its own character traits too. I'm on one of the busier ones, and I'm just on the outskirts of Honolulu, main city. Um, and that can become a bit overwhelming at times. So, surfing is there to help me with that one, or if I just kind of step out of that that vibration and maybe cruise up to the North Shore where things kind of slow down, you're kind of like country atmosphere, or go to the West Side and it gets pretty desolate and it reminds me a bit of a lot of the West Coast of the Americas, especially down into like Mexico and stuff. So yeah, like some ways it's easy, other ways it's tough, but being on the sailboat really helps me with that one. So I can have that sort of backpacker's mentality of minimalism, not having a lot of excess and personal possessions and belongings and things that I need to take care of. That kind of will, me being someone who's kind of, not isn't the right word, who's entirely meticulous. If I got a
You're
lot of
one of
stuff
the
to
most
take care of,
meticulous people I know.
I know, right? And I'm really working on it, man. I'm toning it down. Josh is passing me up, to be honest. It's funny.
Oh, wow.
He was a piglet, and now he's all like crazy organized. I remember being back home with him for his 30th, and I was like, man, I'm watching me and you're more than what I am, kind of thing. And where did this all come from? So the minimalism actually helps me out with that, because I have a smaller amount of things that I have to take care of, which means that I have more time for reflection or to be present or to engage more with my surroundings. So I find that by being simple, I can actually be more sociable, actually, or more interactive in my own environment. It's a condition that helps me. Yeah, and I really enjoy it actually because I feel more in touch with myself, the self that I feel when I'm traveling, the one that's just loaded up with curiosity and joy. My brain becomes a walking story. And that's that deeper sense of me, the one that's set free, that I try and kind of keep the dialogue going in my head. And if I lose the dialogue, that means I've got too much stuff going on. So I try and tone it back, or do some meditation or something. But yeah.
That's cool. So what like really catches my eye too is it's just this first sentence on the back of the book. It says, "What happens when a calculated dreamer does everything expected of him in life, but still comes away feeling empty?" And I think a lot of people can relate to that because we have that sense of empty feeling that we're not really fulfilling what it is that we could potentially fulfill within our lifetime, because we're confined by our own comfort zone. We're confined by our own limiting behaviors and our limiting beliefs about what we think is possible. And
Yeah.
so traveling for you has been that space to really, really let go of all that stuff, huh?
Yeah, entirely. Sometimes I feel that in your own atmospheres, as humans, we're social beings, and I feel that a lot of times your social network can really dictate your personality. So although ours, I feel, is a healthy one, there was still a lot more to me that I didn't get quite the chance to explore yet, or even separate from social groups, but maybe your the education system that you're in, or where you're working at, or the sports and hobbies that you get into, or your acquaintance friends. There's a lot of elements that come with I feel what kind of births or dictates your personality and your character. And so yeah, the traveler setting for me was the one that really blossomed what I wish to get into. I was able to, basically, you get a clean slate, and you can sit there and start to create your own garden of life that is everything that you feel is the most true element of yourself. Yeah. And at the same time, you're making some pretty rad contacts, and whether it's the travelers that you meet, or it could be the locals that you start to build friendships with, and you might visit in the future, or have them join you somewhere in the future. There's it's a whole new platform, and you get to build it from square one. So yeah, it's really neat to me. Every time I go, it's super enriching. I'm the moment that I've going through immigration and getting stamps on my passport, I'm like sitting there with like itchy fingers, like I can't wait to see what's going to happen. And I like to just have minimal expectations. I don't like to have a big agenda. All I want to do is just know that I fly in on this date and I leave then, and everything else I like to just keep empty pages.
Mm-hmm. That's a big practice that we can bring to our everyday life, or even to, like, especially a day off, for instance, right? It's like, it's good to get things done. It's good to have a list because it keeps us on track and aligned with our goals, but it's also good to just have some time and space to really let go of any agenda and let go of any expectations we have for anything, even if it's just going to the beach or going on to get a coffee with a friend or something, because it opens us up to really see and sense and experience the potentials that are around us, that are always kind of resting dormant and hidden kind of under the layers of our mind and hidden behind our expectations. And it's definitely a practice to be able to tap into those and sense those. But another fast route to do that is also to shock the system and really get out of our comfort zone, because we really have no choice, and we have to become more resourceful of like, okay, like I need to know where I'm staying. I need to know like where my stuff is. And then that's from there. It's like, oh, then I don't have anything else to worry about. Now I just have all this open space, this open time, like, and it's like, oh, well, now there's a lot more potential here.
Right. And there's no to-do list that's sitting in your fingertips. You've basically got everything and anything you could hope to do. It's like, you're a kid in school and you finished all your homework, and dinner's done and all your programs are over. Like, what are you going to do now? Like, I think that's the time when you've completed everything that you wish to do and you're done with it, that creativity comes in. The human mind can then be curious and start to do things that it usually doesn't.
Mm-hmm. So your book it's a story. There's many
Yes.
stories within the story. What is, because there's a big, like, telling stories is one of the ways that we really connect with people and that we really relate to people. And so I guess, what was your inspiration behind writing it and sharing it in the way that you did?
I think I've always kind of enjoyed telling stories. And when you write out stories, you can really capture all the stuff that I think someone might get bored in hearing if you did it verbally, because it's a lot of detail. But when you sit down and you have the time and the space to read a book, I feel that it's kind of nice to paint pictures that way. And so I decided to use my own travel excursions as the platform to tell my story about kind of giving folks a nudge to go out and travel, especially the Americans, youth. And it just came natural to me. It wasn't even like I put much thought into it. I just thought, I've had so many rad adventures and I want to tell them. And if I'm going to tell them, I'm going to tell it right. I'm going to tell it true. I'm going to tell it real. I'm going to tell it with all the freaking colors you can imagine. And I'm not going to make it boring. Like, I want to throw some stuff in there that might shock some people, or maybe annoy somebody, or surprise them, or, make someone, feel worried about who's reading the page. Like I put it all in there because I didn't want to build a Barnes and Noble. I didn't want that blasé book that just sounds like every other one on the shelf. I wanted to make something unique that was personal, and something that kind of said, here's Nico, but at the same time, I wanted to be sort of that bigger brother and kind of help folks along. So you kind of get to be tag along in the story, or in your case, you're actually a character. So you are your own person. But I wanted folks to feel like they went like sitting back around the fire and Grandpa's telling stories. I wanted it to be like that, where everyone's eyes are big and glued and they just want to know what's going to happen next. And so that was the core basis of it. And then sort of with seasonings and spices in between, there is the message that I'm trying to bring across. So you're going to have fun while you read it, but at the same time, you're going to learn something.
That's cool.
That's the approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, that's good. Yeah, because when stories are captivating, they keep drawing people back in for more and more, and they get more and more open and more involved with it. And like, we can all relate to stories because we all contain these different archetypes within ourselves. And it's cool to see stories that are playing out that we can relate to, of like, oh yeah, I would have done the same thing, or what, I've always thought about doing something like that, but that's just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And you can catch it firsthand from someone who's done it, or it could be inspiration. Maybe there's, maybe 90% of the things I do in that book, people don't care about, but that 10%, you're like, that is my dream, and then fortunately I've pretty well detailed exactly how to get there. You're going to know right down to the tiny little town on how I got in, and the restaurants and the places around it, little eateries, and, all the little stuff that, for example, like how we're talking about how life can get busy in your home setting. All the things that you would breeze on past, I've kind of hit the slow button and just nudged you along as you went. So you're very much right there in my footsteps.
Mm.
At least I tried to do so. I'll let the readers decide. Yeah.
Right. No, that's cool. So you talk to me about the Omni Flag.
Sure. Yeah. So I was actually just looking into that thing today, following its Instagram. The Omni Flag I came up with that was the first piece of giving back and inspiration that I had once I'd returned from my 3 years straight abroad. So when I was just getting back from um, Asia and Australia, and I'd moved to Maui, I think within the first week of being there, I just had so much inside of me, and I had to find a place to put it. And then that is what was born, was that flag. I remember like being at this permaculture farm, little retreat place, and like going to bed, and my mind was just buzzing, and it wouldn't go to sleep. And I'm just like, what is all this information, you know? So I'm just lying there, and then like the creative juices are going haywire, and I'm like, all right, I'm not getting to bed unless I do something about this. So I started putting down all my thoughts, and once I basically exhaled that, well, within 20 minutes I went to sleep. And what that was is the Omni Flag, and it was basically a flag that I had. Well, at that point in time, yes, it was a flag, but it was more of an idea. And I was thinking, you know, how can I try to build a platform to encompass all of humanity in one place, in one setting, in a positive way? And so I started thinking of, you know, like little tribal banners and pennants and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but we're talking about the whole world here. I'm not just trying to reach out to a traveler. I want to gather everyone. And so I just started seeing like, you know, like this shape of a ring with colors. And I was like, okay, all these colors here, these are going to be the flags of every nation in the world. And I'm going to, you know, like very finely find out each and every one and make sure I get all the color schemes right. And in the center, I'm going to put the earth. And when I pieced that whole bit together, the name of the Omni Flag just buzzed right into my head. And I was like, oh, this is it, you know? And to make sure that I didn't lose it, I purposely screenshotted it and then I emailed it to myself. So it was in 2 different places. And that idea actually sat dormant for about 3 years until the time was right. And that was once the book was written and getting close to being published. I wanted the two to kind of go together hand in hand, to kind of complement each other. And if you look closely on the back of the book, I've actually included like, you know, the Omni Flag is down there at the base. So we can get that guy there. I put it on the spine. But it's the much of the writing and the book itself, they sort of exhale the same vibrations. And that message is that we're all humans, and we're all from this planet. We all live here, and me personally, although I'm speaking from, you know, a calm, modest, humble individual, but I don't see the reason why all of us can't just get along. So this flag is kind of saying, you know, bring all your guards down, forget about your separations between continents and borders and towns and cliques and tons of skin and everything and anything that has a reason to divide us, and just break it all down and look at the most basic premise of what you are, and we're people. So the flag was meant to bring everyone together, and then at the same time bring about, I think, a really important message for this generation, which is for us to be to work in harmony with the planet and to learn to be sustainable, to be more wise about our means that we consume in life, whether it's through products and purchases, or if it's through our food decisions, or where our food comes from, or how it's grown. It's kind of it's not saying grow up, but it's saying open up, you know, like embrace something that you might have overlooked. And so when I created it, I felt really proud of it. I thought, you know, this is just the thing that this is a tangible version of the message that I put within the book. And so when I first saw that flag, man, I had a big old smile on my face. I couldn't believe it. Just to sit there and hold it and look at it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's done. You know, I think it's really a neat thing when you take a creative outlet or a dream that you have and you turn it into something tangible, you know, especially if its premise is one that is rewarding or positive. And yeah, and so that's the flag. And right now it just left Canada. it's going down the West Coast. It'll be to you before long, actually, depending upon how quick people sign it and pass it on. But it's going to go down the Western Seaboard. It's in NorCal right now. It just got there, and we'll go down and into San Diego before it goes to Maui, Hawaii, and then off to New Zealand. So yeah, that flag. Got a couple of them over here, but yeah, it's just it's a flag for the planet, and I thought that was really neat. You know, like I even Googled like flag for the planet, and there wasn't one. And you know, right now Elon Musk is doing some pretty radical stuff with technology and the future of the human race, and he's all about being an interplanetary species and stuff like that. And I'm thinking like, no, this is the time. Like, if it takes, cool, and if it doesn't, whatever. But at least I had that idea and that thought, and I gave it a healthy beginning. You know, like if someone remembers the Omni Flag, at least they're going to remember that it stood for sustainability, equality, and unity. You know, and I would hope that that's a nice, mature beginning to understanding, well, my little micro creation of a planetary flag, you know? Yeah. So we'll see. We shall see. Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all from the same place. This is our home. No one is more deserving to be here than anybody else. And I think it's a freaking awesome message. And I think it's also great that you said yes, right? That you said yes to moving forward with it, not just bypassing it and saying like, oh, you know, whatever, it's not going to work. It's like, no, like, damn it, this is something that's wanting to come through me, and here I just have to get out of the way and make it happen. And that's really
right.
cool, because you could say, like, I could see how you learned how to do that through traveling, of like just listening to the callings, like listening to your intuition of like, hey, maybe I should go over here. This seems like a good idea. And through traveling, you've learned how to discern the different thoughts and the different things that you know you need to take action on. And this is one of those things I really believe that it's going to catch. I think it has such a powerful and positive message that there's no other way. Like it's just going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to circulate around the world. And I mean, if it changes one person's life, then
Awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's how that last sentence you said is exactly how I look at it. And I think that's an important thing to do whenever you kind of, when you are a creative or you're being an artist or you're trying something new, is that you don't have to hope that it takes off and reaches millions and billions of people. My thought since the start is if I can change one person's mind about how they feel about the world that they live in and how they interact with it, and how they view themselves and humanity, the planet, how they consume, then it was all worth it. You know, the money that I put into this whole thing, it doesn't mean squat. I don't even miss it, and I don't even care to get it back. I care to give that message. You know, this is given with love. You know, it's not given with a business model whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because money is just money, right? It comes and goes just like everything. Yeah. And if we're so fixated on that, then we can really lose out on a lot of opportunities of just helping people deepen their experience and helping them enrich their lives. And yeah, man, that's cool. Is that a purple? That glass is a glass purple? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard. I was like, wait, was he drinking was that grape juice, passion fruit juice? What is that? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, just a purple glass. When you live in the sailboat, it's nice to have things that are not glass, because glass breaks and makes a big mess. So yeah, that's one of the cups. That's my little smoothie cup.
Love it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So you got this one out, this book out. What are your plans? What's up next? Because I know if we if we let things sit dormant for too long, they can kind of fester or ferment. And I know you're one to take action. You're one definitely to make it happen. So what's that looking like for you?
So, I really don't like to tie myself down to too many things. I do like to embrace what it feels like life is guiding me into do. So now that the flag is on its own and I'm feeling out its tempo of how long it takes to move. So we're in April and it's just left Canada. So I'm no longer thinking it's going to take a year for it to get around to all the travel friends. This might be 2 or 3 years to complete its job, which is totally fine. All I care is that it's going. So with that thing in motion, this book published at the end of this particular bit of writing is an introduction to the conclusion, to the closure of it all and the real meat and potatoes of what happened to me personally and what I'm giving back. So this is like the appetizer and dinner's yet to come. So when those two are done, I'm thinking, I've still got to finish up, my apprenticeship and stuff, but it depends where life leads me. If you were to ask me, what do I wish that I could do if I didn't have to be tied down to anything, I would likely build a whole bunch of little badges and pennants, all sustainably done, of the Omni Flag, and I would probably go out and do like, I think it was like Rob Machado and a handful of other professional surfers. I think the Malloys that went off to isolated locations and brought fresh water to underdeveloped countries or to people who needed clean water. I would love to do something like that. And with my background in electrical, I think that I would thoroughly enjoy a sustained kind of travel life where I'd have already kind of given my message and I have a little token that I can bring with me and kind of spread that in little whispers, while at the same time fulfilling my desire to help people. So if I could launch that, that's a perfect world situation. And then if not, I'll just continue on being a Sparky. and I'll do my travels once and twice a year and get my little step out into, the great wide open and help in small fragments. So whether I can do that indefinitely or in small pieces, I don't think it'll ever really cease. I will keep pushing, and who knows what kind of inspiration might come in the future. Yeah, it's all still, as I like to keep it, an unwritten slate. It's just concepts and ideas, and write them in pencil so you can always shift them and change them.
I love it. That's cool. Yeah, the openness. Be open to how things are unfolding and ready to take action when you need to do so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. So people can find this book, 2.5 cents, worth $1 million, on Amazon. And travel is about the gorgeous feeling of teetering in the unknown. I love that quote right off the cover of it from Anthony Bourdain. So, yeah.
Super neat and rich in quote. I love from the moment that I read that quote, I knew it was going on the front cover. It just was like screaming at me. Yeah. So I'm glad that you like it too. I hope others kind of enjoy the magic that's within those words in the front. And yeah, it's available on Amazon as an ebook or paperback. And you just look it up either through its full title. You could probably even search my full name, but the title's probably the best way.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And I also invite people to follow the Omni Flag on social media and keep up with that, because the more people that know about it, the more people can spread it, and the more that message gets out there and out into the world, and building and deepening this global community that we have so we can all support each other, feel a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can share or look up or do anything with any of the pictures and photos. As long as it's spreading a positive message, I'm all for it. So yeah, it has its own Facebook and its own Instagram.
Cool, man. Mm-hmm. Right on. Well, any last words before we stop this recording here?
little parting gift, I suppose, out there for the bookworms, I really thoroughly hope that you dive into the read. And if you don't read books, trust me, I'm not much of a book reader either, unless I'm in the right setting. So I purposely wrote this book for you. This book is meant to entertain those who do not read books. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think.
I love it. Yeah, and if you don't know how to read, start reading now.
Exactly. I'll teach you your ABCs, man. We'll work through it all. We'll get there.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in today. And again, go check out the book, 2.5 Cents Worth a Million. You'll find it. The author is Nicholas Crouch, also known as Nico. So find it on Amazon. Check him out. Social media, the Omni Flag. Have yourself a beautiful day. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks again.